That's really exciting.
It's the beauty of life, man. You just don't know what's waiting there for you. There's nest eggs everywhere, you know.
Yeah.
So, but speaking of a nest egg, I dig your story. I dig what you're doing. And before we get to your good work, I want to know first and foremost, 4 years ago, this whole pandemic kind of turned us on our ear. How did you survive that time period, and how did it change you?
Uh, that's a really good question. I actually started my business during the pandemic, and so it was kind of an interesting turn of events. I was working in another startup, and we were relatively early on the kind of going fully remote side of the pandemic and everything. And so I found myself very quickly getting stuck at home. My wife and I went and found a new apartment that had some outdoor space and allowed us to get some fresh air. And then I started Apollo 21 in April of 2021. So literally about a month into the pandemic. And we've just sort of been gutting it out and figuring it out every step of the way.
So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day. And one of the curious little minds says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
I I build companies is probably the easiest way to put that. So Apollo 21, I like to tell people sits at the intersection of a management consultancy and a product design studio. So we help companies understand and evaluate problems that they're having and opportunities for growth. And we usually either build new technology products to help solve those problems, or we help those companies launch new companies in pursuit of scale.
So when you were in the third grade, I think I might know the answer to this. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh man. Third grade, it was probably rocket scientist or, astronaut, something that just sounded amazingly cool.
That I didn't want to say it, but that's what I was thinking. I knew based on the name of your company that that had to be it.
Yeah, it's been a through line for a little while, so
Yeah,
yeah,
right on. Is there an animal back there? Because
there is. I'm
I love
sorry.
it. No, 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 dude, listen to me. 'Cause is it a cat? It seems it was fast. It was a dog.
It's a dog. Yeah,
Okay.
he's a Basenji.
Oh, a Basenji. I used to have a Basenji. I actually
Really?
I had a Basenji mixed with an Australian Shepherd. I just
Oh,
lost her in
interesting.
November. She was
I'm sorry.
beautiful. Her name was Coco, and we got her around the time that Conan O'Brien was going to the Tonight Show, so she was forever christened. And then we
Nice.
got a little terrier Basenji mix, but they we got them because they don't bark, and
Hmm.
they're loyal, they're smart. Like Coco was the smartest thing I'd ever been around in my entire life. But anyway,
Oh
every
yeah.
time I'm a cat guy, so sometimes cats come up to my voice. So I was like, uh-oh, I'm bringing the cat in. But
No,
I
this
love it
one's
when
a dog, and
animals.
he's just raring for a walk right now.
Oh,
So
I bet he is. I bet he is. So let me ask you this. Um, who's been an inspiration for you in this journey that you've been on? Who's been kind of an inspiration or a hero?
I've had the great fortune of coming across two specific folks in my career that have kind of served the role of mentor for me. And the first I met right as I was shifting my career path. So I started in the world of advertising and very quickly realized that the most fun you will ever have in advertising is during school. And so I took it upon myself to find a way out of advertising, and I ended up working for a guy named Tom Agello at a company called Poke, like Poke, and he he changed the path of my career. Full stop. Tom was one of the first people that I ever worked with who was willing to say no to potential clients if they kind of didn't fit the mold of the type of work that he was excited about doing. And he was the first person who I think really kind of saw my potential and gave me the opportunity to, whatever euphemism you want to throw, spread my wings and really explore how to become who I am in my career today. And so he was the first mentor that I had the great fortune of working with. And then the second came as I was further progressing my career into the world of startups and entrepreneurship, and ended up first hiring me at Legendary Pictures, the movie studio, to work on a little technology SWAT team over there. And then was the CEO of a company that four of us left Legendary to form, which ultimately then led to the creation of Apollo 21. And so both of those folks have been pivotal in my career and helping me figure out how to be who I am.
So take me back to where you were born and raised and how these initial seeds of being an entrepreneur, how were those planted and how did they become you?
Interestingly enough, it did not start at an early age. I always wish that I had some great story about how, I started the lemonade stand out front and that just snowballed into a career of entrepreneurship. But I grew up in San Antonio and focused most of my time as a kid on theater and on the outdoors. So I was big into rock climbing and mountaineering and all of that stuff. And focused on acting all the way through college. And then when I graduated college, I just sort of made a personal declaration that it was time to quote unquote grow up and stop focusing on acting and go find a real job. And so that led me to the world of advertising. I got a master's degree in that. As I said, realized very quickly that I did not enjoy doing it. And it was really in the transition from advertising into, oh my God, I'm a couple of years into my career. I don't really know what I want to do, but I know what I don't want to do. That pushed me into building an understanding of business and how companies and brands relate to customers and consumers. And then through my experience at Poke that I described earlier under Tom was really the first opportunity that I had for exposure to the world of startups and entrepreneurship. And I got to a point during that process where I realized that as much fun as I was having helping big companies do things, I really enjoyed helping small companies figure out how to establish themselves and kind of make something of themselves. And so that led me down the entrepreneurial path and opened the door to the world of startups, where I've been focusing my career for the last, I guess, 12 years or so now.
So of all of the business models that exist out there, of all the successes, what's your favorite business model, startup that has turned into kind of a behemoth or a company you admire?
Man, that's a really good question. One of my favorite companies out there, and I know, forgive me, I don't know if this answers your question directly, but I'm going to run with it because it's the first one
Sure.
that popped into my head. There's a company called Send Cut Send, which, in addition to having an amazing name, basically is a laser cutting and metal bending company. And the reason that I'm so excited about it is I enjoy making things, and that's inherent in sort of my work as a venture builder and my work as a product designer. And I've always wanted the opportunity to extend that into physical products, but I've never had the wherewithal and didn't come from an industrial design background. And what I love about Send Cut Send is they fall right at the perfect intersection point of my design experience, where I can design something in 2 dimensions, but then envision it in three, send off a file to them, and get, I have pieces sitting here, get something sent
Yeah.
back to me that was cut from my design that is now a physical product that I can hold and sell and so on. And so they're actually one of the primary suppliers for a side company that I've been running for about 3 years now, where I design accessories and things for adventure vehicles and camping vehicles. And really, they kind of provide my outlet for, as much as I love building digital things and building companies, sometimes I just want to hold the thing that I'm making,
Yeah.
and they allow that to happen. So
That's
I'm a
awesome,
huge fan.
dude. That is totally awesome. And it is a great
Yeah.
name. Makes total
Yes.
sense. You
Yes.
know? So speaking of, good ideas and having the gumption to do it, what is the drive for you every day to get up, to do the work that you do, to help other businesses, and to also evolve as a human?
For me, it comes down to problem solving. I get that itch where when somebody says, "If only we could," whatever it is, um, it just starts something in my brain, and I go, "Huh, how would we figure out how to do or whatever it is?"
Yeah.
And I find that I have trouble putting it down until I have some sort of solution, which has its benefits and its drawbacks, but seems to work well for our clients and the ventures that we're launching for ourselves. And so I love that moment of figuring out a solution and figuring out how to bring that to life. And it's really been kind of the through line. So I started my career as a visual designer, and that led into the world of kind of pushing pixels and thinking about the design of user experiences, which is how we think about when you're interacting with a technology product, for example, or an application, how do we want that experience to unfold, and how do you funnel somebody from step to step so that they have an easy time utilizing that product to accomplish whatever need it is? And so that sort of scratched that itch further. And then that grew into, well, if I can do that at the level of creating something digital, how do I then expand that into companies? And how do I take the thing that we're creating digitally, but then layer in the idea of, okay, well, if that thing's going to support a business, to your point, there has to be a business model around it. There has to be an exchange and a way to make money off of it, and a way to find the people that have the problem that that thing solves, and so on and so forth. And so, it's a little bit roundabout, but I have found this kind of natural progression from design of, pictures and images and things, to the design of experiences, to the design of companies that sell experiences and ideally make money doing so.
What's one of your favorite client success stories so far?
One of my absolute favorite clients, and it's one that I inevitably end up bringing up on calls, and everybody seems to be interested in. So I'll jump straight into it. We had a client a while ago that was focused on the Western sports space. So think cowboys and rodeos and bull riding and all of that, which is super interesting. And I hadn't realized until we started working with them, is actually, I believe, the seventh largest spectator sport in the US. So it has a huge following, but it's also made up of a fan base that inherently tends to be a little bit slow on technology adoption. And so this particular client was highly focused on bringing the world of Western sports to a younger, more technologically advanced audience, and figuring out how to enhance the connection points between Western sports athletes and fans. And so we had the opportunity to work with them around everything from how to utilize their data, to software designed around rodeo event production, to one of my favorite pieces was building a mobile app that was effectively ESPN for rodeo. And so it became a touch point between athletes and fans that didn't previously exist. And it was so exciting to go through the process and figure out how to serve an audience and a fan base that was hungry for that technology touch point, but didn't have anything to fill that gap.
So, of all the things that you've done so far, what are you the proudest of?
Probably that application. That app, the ESPN for rodeo, which was called Teton Ridge Plus, became kind of this touch point where athletes could create their own profiles, and fans could connect with and follow the athletes that they were most excited about. And part of what was so exciting about that process was we had access to both fans and athletes to really interview them and understand deeply what the underserved needs were that could help change their relationship to the sport. And so we were able to build an application that really fulfilled on those needs and created a connective tissue between the fans and the athletes and the events that didn't exist. And so we were live streaming rodeo events, we were creating athlete profiles, we were updating standings in real time, and doing a lot of data oriented activity that is inherent in the world of sports today and fandom of sports, but wasn't available for that particular space until we kind of tapped into it.
So, let's say you have a dream tonight. You ran into the 18-year-old version of you, and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on the life you've lived, the wisdom you've gained. What advice would you give your young version, and would that version of you listen?
Uh, that version of me undoubtedly would probably not listen. But the advice that I would give would be to start exploring this space, honestly. As I said, I came into the world of entrepreneurship and venture building and technology relatively late in life, and into my career. And I think that had I had an awareness that that was even a possibility at the time that I was 18, it probably would have directed my educational path and then ultimately my career path in ways that I just at the time didn't even understand existed. I was so ingrained in theater and doing the things that I had grown up being excited about that I hadn't taken the moment to explore what the future might hold. And I guess the other major piece of advice that I would give myself is don't listen to your mom. The acting thing is going to serve you really, really well.
Right on. So, let me ask you this. We get off the phone here, a time machine pulls up in front of your house, and you can go anywhere back in time and see one event with your own eyes, or you can go see what's up in the future, where are you going?
I this is totally off the cuff, but I would love to sit in the audience the day that Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone because
Wow.
it has become such a pivotal turning point in the way that people interact with technology, the way that we think about what something that we carry around every day can do for us. And then, of course, just the opportunity to hear him talk and to hear one of those sort of famous, one more thing moments would have been such a treat.
Absolutely, it would. I would love to be there too. So everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Uh, I might run the show, but I'm really the guy that sits here to enable other people to do amazing work. I have a small but very strong team that I absolutely adore working with that is made up of a number of folks that came from past companies who I'd worked with in the past. And so we have a long-standing relationship, and I love being able to see how they're growing as our efforts in building a company together are sort of progressing. And I really like figuring out how to get out of the way. How can I enable them to do the things that make our clients happy, that make them excited, and that help make our company successful?
So if anyone wants to reach out, they want to see your company, learn more, reach out to you, what's the best way to do that?
Best place to find us is our website at apollo21.io. We have a ton of case studies. We have a ton of great articles and white papers that expound upon sort of our perspective and view of the world. And we're starting to layer in a lot more video content and things like that. So that's a great place. The other place where I'm very active right now is on LinkedIn. You can find me there and on all of my socials under the handle Among Many, AMONGMANY. And that's pretty much the best place to find me.
I love it, man. What a great story. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the entire timeline, and best of luck with everything. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, absolutely.